Insurance is a product. These are the people and stories that bring it to life. Welcome to Beverage Break with OCI. In this series, we will bring you guests to share interesting stories, thoughtful insights, and have a little fun along the way. We're your hosts. I'm Paul, and this is Charles.
Yeah, I'm here too, Paul.
Yep.
Appreciate that. More importantly than us, though, is our guest today. And today we have Chuck Olson, CEO of OCI, Insurance Financial Services. He actually started his career in 1988 with Mutual of Omaha, so 20 years in the industry, helping his clients achieve financial security. And during that time, he actually was extremely successful. He got multiple awards for being a top producer with the company. He actually went on to get his Certified Financial Planners designation, as well as his CLU, CHFC, among many others. So the professionalism is definitely there. And speaking of professionalism, one of the things he's always been extremely passionate about is being involved in the professional associations of our industry, being on numerous boards, both locally and nationally. Actually sat on the NAFA National Board of Trustees, among many other leadership positions over the years. So now looking at OCI with over 4,000 agents nationwide, we're up to about 75 employees now. And we're going to be responsible for about $250 million in premium this year alone. So with that, quite the accomplishments. Huge kudos to you and what you've been able to accomplish. But before we get to anything else, this is Beverage Break with OCI. And the single most important thing that we're here to do is figure out, what did you bring us and why?
Sure. Well, thanks for having me. And what I decided to bring today was Anderson Conn Valley 2002 Right Bank, and this is Anderson Conn Valley's take at a Right Bank of France, so a French style wine, mostly Cabernet Franc and some Merlot. This has been aged very nicely, again, 2002. I encourage you to take a taste of it and see what you think. It's going to change a little bit as we answer questions. So cheers.
Cheers. Yeah, let's give it a try, huh?
I'm guessing you picked 2002 for a reason?
That's tasty. Well, obviously, this is kind of special to me because these grapes were picked probably in September, October, which is exactly the same time that OCI started in 2002. So I just thought it'd be a great way to have some fun with it. Maybe introduce you to older wines. Your MD 2020 that you usually drink and probably isn't the same. So this will change as we have some time together.
Yeah, so I'm guessing it's a unique bottle, right? You don't have like a cellar full of 2002 wines?
No, obviously, right? This is, I think I maybe have a couple more bottles. I think this is the last one of the Right Bank that I have, but I've enjoyed collecting wines. Obviously, it's a passion of mine. So, but I couldn't think of a better beverage to have with you because I'm sure you haven't had this.
No,
before.
I appreciate you sharing it. And Paul, that means you can't just sit here and chug it. So we have to actually enjoy it. I think that's what you're supposed to do with wine. So, all right. Well, Paul, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah. I guess tell us a little bit about what you were doing before OCI. Why insurance?
Well, that's a great question. I got to tell you, I was in the retail. I was in a department store called Macon's. Most people know Mangelson's here in Omaha, and that was part of the operation. And one day somebody walked in and fired me, which.
Wait, can we do that?
Yeah. I have to say that it was probably one of the hardest things I've experienced. And I made a commitment at that point that I would never work for somebody again. And that's a great statement. I will tell everybody to say that statement. But the problem is being able to make a living and I answered a newspaper ad. Mutual of Omaha said they were looking for people. They were going to pay them $100,000. I thought that meant that's how much I got, each year. I realized later that they were talking about lifetime. But I became a career agent with Mutual of Omaha. So,
and I think if I remember right, your wife, my mother, was super excited about that.
Yeah, I went home and I told Deb, I was going to become an insurance agent. And she started crying. She said she never wanted to be married to an insurance agent. Found that a little bit tough to decide what to do next because divorces cost money. I didn't have money. No, she was a little concerned because she didn't want me going out and selling to our friends and our neighbors, and that's what the perception was. And I just made the commitment to her that I wasn't going to take that route. I was going to be a professional. I was going to change the perception of agents. And so she came around after the first trip or two. She was all right.
So you were a professional agent, obviously, again, for 20 years. You had your own practice, successful practice. Favorite part of being an agent, what was that? I mean, what did you enjoy the most of the entire experience?
I think it's what every agent enjoys, and that's being around people. Sit in front of a business owner, sit in front of a family, and listening to their story. It is probably the coolest thing about being an agent. But the other part of it is when you actually realize what you've done for someone. I recall this was fairly early in my career. I had sold a couple some health insurance. The guy did not want to buy it. I got to tell you, he was, we don't need this.
Well, most people don't wake up in the morning, right, thinking about.
But the wife was very adamant that they buy it, and so they ended up buying it. And about a year later, I get a call, and the guy had been out getting some firewood, and he'd sliced his leg open with a chainsaw.
Okay.
And went in and got it, and it wasn't that big of a deal. But when he was in there, they did his blood work, and they realized he had cancer, and he ended up fighting cancer for about 2 years. And toward the very end, he asked me to come up and help him, just kind of look at his bills. And so I went up and I visited with him, and he was close to death, and you know when somebody is, because they realize it. And he just complimented the fact that I forced him to buy health insurance, and he was so happy that his family wouldn't lose the farm, that they'd be taken care of, and we were only talking maybe $400,000, which is a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, I'll take it. But, we saved that farm.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you really know this industry's for you.
Yeah. And we talk all the time here, you have to disrupt the comfort to comfort the disrupted. And that's a prime example of exactly that. Yeah. If you hadn't disrupted them in their comfort, you would never have been able to comfort them in the time of,
And I think that's what's missed by a lot of agents today, is that they don't realize that they're not always going to be people jumping and going, oh, let me buy. They have to be sold. And sometimes that means, like you said, you have to disrupt their mindset a little bit, because there's going to be a disruption in their life, and you're there to prepare them for that. So that's one of those things that really makes me proud to have been in the trenches working with clients, and today I still love that idea.
Yeah. So that's really a great story, a really heavy story. Give us, how about a lighthearted story? Do you have any of those that you can recollect from back in when you? Yeah, I'm sure every agent's got that story, right?
Probably the one that comes to mind, and there's a few, but one that comes to mind is I call it the cockroach lady. And it was a referral to go out and help this individual. She had worked in the mayor's office, and so I'm kind of excited,
Yeah, big time.
This person, connected,
Right.
And so I went out, and she was turning 65, needed a med sup, and I remember I had my briefcase back then. You carried a briefcase, and you had rate books, believe that or not, where you had to actually figure the rate. Walked into her house, and it was kind of dark, and I don't know. I guess I called it like smoky, but it was just dusty, And as I walked in, she said, "Well, come on into the kitchen." And I walked. I thought, must be my eyes, but it's shimmering. And we got into the kitchen table, and I looked at the table, and then I looked at the chair. And there was just billions of cockroaches. And I kid you not.
Disgusting.
I sat there, and it was that moment of, I do not need to sell this bad. And I didn't even put my suit or my briefcase down.
Well, no, because they'll crawl in.
Well, and at that same time, she had a little dog. All of a sudden, it starts barking, and it starts running over, and you naturally look to see where it's going. And I glance over, and I see something crawl across and I mean, it was big. And all I'm thinking is it had to be a rat or a really big mouse, or I don't know. But I just at that point said, I felt bad, but I want to help her.
I got to get out of here.
But I'm not going to be able to.
Did Deb even let you in the house that night, or did you have to undress in the yard?
I excused myself. I said, "Oh, you know what? I just realized I have to be somewhere," and I left, and I told her I'd have another agent, contact her right away, and
there was no Zoom calls back then.
No.
I'll hook up with you on Zoom.
You had to have him. You actually had to witness signatures and such.
Oh,
and,
man.
So I went back. There was another agent, and I told him, "Here's the deal. I'm giving you a sale." And
wow, you're such a nice
You're
guy.
welcome.
Always thinking of others. I can appreciate
and that agent, I still talk to him, and he knows who he is. He'll probably call me on it, but he went out and wrote it, and that's
I love it.
the cockroach lady.
So I'm curious. When I started at OCI, a lot of our focus was in the group market. So I'm guessing at some point in your career that became a focus as to how OCI started.
That's what started it was I would work with a lot of individuals, and in fact, one of the things that I started was the daycare provider, in-home daycare providers. I went out and I set up an association and sold them health insurance, disability, long-term care. And as I meet with them, I would always get to know, and they go, and I wish my husband's job gave him better coverage. Well, obviously, that seems like an opportunity. Mm-hmm. And I can think of a couple times where that really paid off. I actually went and met with the business owner. I said, well, your employee's wife said you guys' insurance isn't real good. Can I help you? And a couple times it turned into really nice cases. And I found that I could do that employee benefits, just like the individual, because I didn't go out and just sell the business owner. That's what a lot of people do. They sell a business owner. I went out and sold the employees. And what I found is a company that had like 20 employees, I got 20 new prospects right there. And I got known for helping the employees. And I do things like bring the ice cream truck to a blue collar, guys working their tail off in the shop. I'd have the ice cream truck come, and they could have as much of the ice cream as they wanted.
Paul, have you ever gotten ice cream here?
No.
Oh, okay.
Got wine.
Oh, okay. Oh, this is true.
This is
All
true.
right, that's true.
But it was a way to differentiate myself from other agents, everybody works with the business owner. I wanted to work with people who really need the coverage. Yeah. That's the employees.
Absolutely. It's funny you said you got to meet business owners, and a few times it turned into really good business. I'm guessing the other times you just got kicked out. Is that? No.
Yeah. Well, no. I think there was many times I was kicked out. Thank you.
Yeah. I noticed. Obviously, I've seen it forever and ever and ever. But for the benefit of our audience, you've got a ring. We all know you didn't play professional football, so we know that's not what it is. What's up with that?
That's great. Mutual of Omaha, their highest award is Chairman's Council. And when I first started, obviously, I wanted to make that level.
That was the benchmark.
That was it. You set a goal, and hopefully you can always achieve your goal. And Chairman's Council was that. And so I achieved it, and then you actually get a diamond. You get a diamond every 5 years, I believe. Anyway, it was a big deal to me. And when I left Mutual, I still wear it. And people go, why? And I'm like, because I get stopped in airports and they go, no. No, it reminds me that I was an agent, that I still today believe that the agent's job is the hardest thing anyone can do. And so I wear it to remind me never to forget the agent and the work they have to put in to survive.
No, that's great. Absolutely.
So you were working with groups. Then did you have agents say, "Hey, show me how to do this," or
Yeah.
How did that transition? Yeah.
Well, that's what happened was I got known for knowing health insurance, and I got to tell you, it wasn't the thing I wanted to be known for. You mentioned in my introduction that I earned my CFP back in '92, and my whole thought was I'm going to become a financial planner. In fact, I was going to become a fee-for-service financial planner, and Mutual of Omaha said no. Back then, financial planners, you worked on a commission, and that's the way it was going to be. And so I actually transitioned my business to helping more agents with the one thing that I was known for, and that was health insurance. They would say, "Hey, Chuck, I've got a client. They need health insurance. Can you help them?" I was desperate. I'll do anything. So I'd go out. I'd actually help their client. And then their client would say something to me like, "Chuck, you really understand this health insurance. Can you help me with their life insurance?" And I could have done one of two things here. I could have said, "Sure," and made a sale. Or what I decided to do was to say, I could help you, but here's the deal. Paul is your agent. He's really good. He's probably the best I know in the industry. Why don't I let Paul, I'll mention to Paul that you were looking for, and have him come out and help you with it. Well, obviously, what that does is Paul now is going to refer me all the time. And that just kept happening. And I got referred so many times that I decided at some point there's a business model that could develop. And my sons were getting to the age of wanting to come into the business, and timing is everything. Worked out very well.
Yeah, I think that's about the time you forced me to get my license by holding me down and burning. No, I'm just No. So obviously the insurance industry has treated you very well over the years, being involved in it. What do you looking at, we mentioned in your intro, OCI has now grown into this large company and responsible for, we said, $250 million in premium. I mean, and it just continues to grow. What do you attribute that success to? What can you point to?
Me.
Okay, no, that's easy enough. We get it.
You know what? I get asked that, at different times, and it's easy for me to always. It's the people we have brought to the company. I think we have the absolute best employees that we could ask for. People that joined OCI early, we had a hiring practice, and that hiring practice was everybody got paid the exact same amount when you started. There was no exceptions. If you were making $100,000 and you wanted to come to OCI, you came in at $10 an hour. Now, a lot of people would never do that because they're looking for a job.
Fortunately, I was making $9 an hour, so I was like, I'll take it.
You'll take it.
And so
you were one of those.
Yes, yeah.
But for the most part, people that decided to take that risk, that chance, that opportunity, saw it just as that. They saw it as an opportunity. And that's what made our employees so good, is because they didn't come in looking for a job. They came in looking for an opportunity. And they're willing to take a step back to take 3 or 5 or 10 steps forward. And honestly, that I think was a big part of our beginnings. I still think we bring the absolute best employees to the business each and every day, and we're always looking. So, I mean, we still need people, but our hiring practice, we're very slow to hire. We go through a process that I'm impressed with, where we make sure that a person is hungry, they're humble, and they're smart. And I'll tell you, very proud of the people that we bring in, and that's why we've grown.
Yeah, no, it's great. It all starts with the people. Always has, always will.
So I got a question for you, because
Well, that's good, because that's what we're here to do, is
I
answer questions.
I get this one asked all the time. In fact, even this weekend when I had my kids up here, and Michael asked me, because he saw OCI on the walls in our common space. So he said, "What does OCI stand for?" So I thought that'd be a good one to ask you.
Okay, that's one of those softballs, because guess what? It's what I've been asked that so many times over the years. OCI stands for Insurance Made Simple. And obviously, the letters don't match up there, right? OCI is 3 letters. We put it together as a marketing idea from the very beginning. I always tell people, you know what? It's easy to remember 3 letters: FBI, CBS, ABC, NBA. I mean, everything is 3 letters. And so I had to find 3 letters that kind of flowed naturally, and OCI just made its way to the very top. And I will be perfectly honest, it was over a couple bottles of wine. Sometimes you're more creative, with a bottle of wine in front of you. So, but it stands for great service to agents. It's really.
By the way, so as we're pouring a little bit more, which
Sure.
we may not do in every episode, but this is really good.
You like
This is really good.
Yeah,
that's
this is ridiculously good. Yeah, and it's definitely
It's changed, hasn't it?
yeah,
Since you started.
it's definitely even better than it was when we started. So, speaking of OCI, as we're looking at OCI, like give us your best or your favorite memory, or maybe something that just really sticks in your mind over the years. Is there a story you can share that you're just like, yeah, this is the one that comes to mind every single time?
Oh man. You know what? I'm gonna go with the bad time. Not you'd think I'd go to but every day is a good day. But I think back to around 2010 or so, and there's a lot of stuff happening at that time. And we had a situation where a carrier came in and caused some havoc to us, and decided that they kind of conveniently forgot to pay us a lot of money. And it put the company in jeopardy, and to the point where we were going to have to do something I never wanted to do, and that was to lay people off. And I remember coming to a meeting that we'd called for all the employees, and that in the meeting before the meeting, the pre-meeting, we had decided we were probably going to have to let 3 people go. And I remember waking up the morning of the the meeting, and I said, no, we're not going to do it. And I remember, I don't know how we were going to pay the bills. I didn't know how we were going to make payroll. I had no clue, but I knew we weren't going to fire anybody. So I came to work. I told the staff, the executive team, that we weren't going to do that. And we went into the meeting and explained the situation. And what was cool was the employees took it upon themselves to say, you know what, we're going to make it work. We'll take time off. We'll take no pay. They'd take time off with no pay. They wouldn't work in no pay. That would be...
I don't think you can do that.
No, because the labor department would come and get me if we did that. So we're not going to say we did that. But the employees stood up, and they made the difference. And that was probably the one time that I can say that I was impressed. And I knew we had the right team.
Right. Yeah, well, you talked about it before, bringing in the right people, and when the time really comes, and you really have to rely on those individuals, they step up to the challenge and make it happen. So, no, that's a really great story, and that's the kind of stuff that builds culture.
Oh yeah,
right. That's the kind of stuff that lives in.
You
infamy.
Can't pay people to do that.
Right.
That's when it's coming from the heart.
Yeah.
And that's probably why I use that story, because it meant more to me than anything else.
Yeah.
Money doesn't mean anything. The growth is great, but it's when you know you have that culture.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know we're getting close to needing to wrap this thing up, and normally we would finish by the time we ended our first beverage, but we're enjoying this one. So I'll ask you one last question. But before we do, reminder at the end, we're going to have you actually.
I know.
So
oh my gosh.
Not everybody knows that yet, but why don't you share with us? How about on the opposite end of the spectrum? Do you have a humorous story from the company you want to share? Something that you can think of that you're just like, man, that just every time I think about it, it makes me laugh. I'm sure there's been plenty throughout the years, but something that pops in your head.
What popped in my head was this was probably very early in the company. We used to have a Christmas party, and I just remember that we decided to have this Christmas party. We're going to take people down on a bus to a restaurant.
The snowstorm.
And you guys already know where this is going, but so the bus comes around. Well, a snowstorm hit as we were doing this. The bus had no problem getting us down to the restaurant. We had a great meal, and we had a few beverages. And since nobody was going to have to drive, the bus was taking everybody to their house. And so we all got back onto the bus, and I would say that most people were feeling no pain. And the bus starts taking us back to everybody's house. And I had some surgery, so I was kind of in pain, and I'm like, oh my gosh, just get me home. But this one individual, one of our employees, the bus driver asked her address, and she couldn't remember her address.
That's a problem.
And so all of us are trying to remember kind of where she lived, because she's having trouble. Long story short, we finally get down into her neighborhood. We finally find the house. She gets out. The bus then gets stuck. And it gets down in this area. And all I remember is the bus driver taking the bus through somebody's yard to get back up into the street. And all I remember, this is probably the only time I've ever done it, I said, okay, take me home. I was going to have everybody else just take me home next. I don't care. I
just picture this old guy in his front yard, like, you kids get out of my yard, and the bus just drives on through. Yeah,
it was.
I actually didn't know any of those details. I just remember that being like one of the most fun nights ever.
It was a lot of fun.
I don't remember any of it.
I didn't remember.
I just remember the bus having some difficulties, and I can't imagine that guy's yard had to have been torn up.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. So
there's been a lot of fun
I hope he doesn't
times.
watch this.
yeah. Oh shoot. Yeah.
There's been a lot of fun times.
Yeah.
OCI is a good place, and I've been so fortunate to be part of it.
Yeah. So we're going to give our thoughts on this drink here in a second, but a reminder, you're going to have to share your thoughts here in a moment with our audience. But before we have you do that, Paul, do you have any insight on this tasty beverage today?
Oh, give my thoughts now?
Well, or you don't have to.
I think it's amazing.
Maybe you must hate it or something.
I don't drink wine. So
You are right now.
but this is really, really good. In fact, yeah, I mean, we've had a couple wine tastings with really good wine, and this is probably the best. So
Yeah.
Well, it's aged, and that's why, people always go, most people don't let their wine age enough to where it gets some unique flavors. This one did, so. And it's well-made wine, too. By the way.
When I would say, even now, it's so much calmer. It's really, really good.
Good. I hit a home run with you.
You did. You certainly did. And the rest of our guests are going to have to really live up to that expectation. So
Good.
Appreciate you bringing it. Excellent choice. Really have enjoyed it. But now we're going to ask you to share with our audience, keeping in mind that we're dealing with a lot of insurance professionals probably watching this video. In a minute or less, what would you like them to walk away from this video with?
Should I look into this camera here?
Yeah, I think let's go with that one. Yeah, I think that's probably the best one.
All right. Are you going to count me down, or do I get to?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And go.
You know what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to consider that insurance is a noble profession. I think you'll find that if you give it the effort and if you do the right things with your clients and with the people you deal with, you're going to find that there's nothing better. There's no career better. There's no profession better than to be an insurance agent. I'd also tell you to find and surround yourself with other professionals. I'd like to say that, OCI can do that, but there's other people in your agency. There's other people that in the industry. Get involved with NAIFA, get involved with NAIHU. Find those people that you want to be like. They're going to help your career, and that ultimately helps you, your client, and the industry. Good luck with it, and thanks for having me.
awesome.
Wow,
That's fantastic.
That was really well done.
So thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
And until
Cheers.
next time, cheers.
Cheers.